Welcome to Lockbox, a podcast providing real estate professionals with action items for success. My name is Jeffrey Brogger, and I'm going to be your host. I'm the founder of two real estate marketing and tech companies, STEEZY.Digital and realnurture.io. In this podcast, you'll learn from top 1% real estate and mortgage brokers the exact secrets to their success. Welcome to Lockbox. Welcome to Lockbox. My name is Jeffrey Brogger, and I am here today with Khabeer Rockley. Khabeer, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell our listeners who you are and where you're from?
So my name is Khabeer Rockley, as mentioned, from the 5% Institute. I'm based in Perth, Western Australia. So usually, yes, it is quite hot. Summers get to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but
it's over 100.
Very warm. Okay, so actually quite hot here, as you can tell with my burnt-looking skin. At the moment, it is winter, so we've had some unusual rain or whatnot, which is unusual for us here in Perth. But I've travelled all around the world, wouldn't live anywhere else. Perth is fantastic. So,
yeah, no place like home.
That's right.
So you are a sales trainer.
Correct.
And you have a lot of real estate clients. So you mentioned prior to the call that, we're going to go over some things today that the traditional real estate salesperson in the United States has never heard. Probably some unconventional wisdom. Would that be fair to say?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So I think the most pertinent aspect of real estate sales today is still the phone. I mean, as much as we want to automate and as much as my marketing agency can generate tons of leads, you still got to then pick up the phone and call them, or at least follow up if it's a warm lead or an appointment, right? So with that being said, I'm going to let you take it away, and I'll stop you here and there and I'll help guide it. But I really want to guide this conversation and focus it towards phone skills.
Sure.
And then maybe we'll have you back for different aspects for a second episode. But I think with just that topic alone, we can spend hours on this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Days. So go ahead. I mean, I'm sure you have some kind of proprietary system or something. So I'm going to let you take it away.
Perfect. Now, when you say in regards to the phones, I think, and we'll talk about obviously the phone, but let's talk a little bit first about intention. So the problem that I find with a lot of sales professionals, be it real estate, be it a mortgage broker, be it business development, whatever it might be, a lot of people do something on the phone which potentially kills their sales, and they do it when they initially meet their potential clients as well. We wrote an article in Entrepreneur magazine about this, and it's something that we call premature presentation. And yes, we were leaning on another potential type statement where it doesn't leave your potential other person satisfied. But what premature presentation is when I have something in my intention. So I already have something in mind that I want to potentially sell. And then I go in with the intention, be it a phone call, be it an in-person conversation, whatever it might be, with the intention that I need to move this product or service. In your case, it will be a house, something I have listed. Now, the problem is because I'm coming in with the intention that this is what I need to sell, what happens is my mindset is so focused on wanting to move this property that it robs me as the real estate agent of the opportunity to truly find out what it is this person actually wants, what it is this person actually needs, and then I prescribe this person with my listing, with whatever I might have listed, what they actually need. So now let's bring that back to a phone call perspective, as you just mentioned. A lot of people get on the phone with the intention that I've got this many listings and I need to tell so-and-so person about this property that I have listed. Now, the problem is, if I'm doing that, and other real estate agents are most probably doing that as well, what separates me from the others? Nothing. So I'm telling this person, whether I like it or not, I'm communicating with this person that I am a commodity. I am just like everybody else. Number two, like all sales conversations, whether you already have some kind of relationship with this person or not, it doesn't matter. Your potential client is not stupid. They know that you're trying to sell them something. So what that means is already as it is, they're going to have some form of sales resistance because in their mind, they're like, Is this person just trying to sell me? How do I know this person has my best interest at heart, or are they just trying to sell me what they have listed? So a person's going to have barriers up, whether conscious or subconscious. So what that means is if I'm just trying to move a property, I haven't yet built enough trust with this person to be able to really find the underlying needs of what this person wants for me to prescribe what they actually need. And in your case, what you're prescribing is a property. So I would suggest two things. Number one, we can dive deep into this in regards to process on how you can do this and that kind of thing. But two things. Number one, as a real estate agent, as a realtor in the United States, as you guys would call it, you need to have a mindset shift that your role is not to just sell property. It's not your role. If you go in with the mindset that my job is I sell property, you're going to be a commodity realtor.
And that's where you get into, and I'll just stop you there to comment. That's where you get into compressed commissions. You know, someone challenges you on your commission rate and says that the other guy will do it for less, and you're just in the diminishing return battle to zero.
Correct. And the reason why you're having that level of conversation that you've just mentioned is because I've told them, whether knowingly or not, that I'm a commodity. So I'm going to have commodity conversations, which means we're going to be battling on commission. However, so the first thing is you're not selling property. That's not your job. Your job is to solve that person's unique needs, and the vehicle in which you solve that person's unique needs happens to be with real estate. That's the first thing. Now, from a phone call context, the point of the phone call is generally to do two things. Number one, it's not to sell a property. It's not. I'm in no position to think that I can sell a property on the phone or anything like that. It is the point of the phone call per se is to set an appointment either in person or virtually or whatever it might be. But the point is to sell the next step, It's not to sell the property because, as just mentioned, there are a number of underlying stages that I need to go through first before I can even prescribe a property to this person. And you notice I use the word prescribe, and I'll go into a lot more detail as to why later in this conversation.
Do you mind if I stop you there?
Of course.
I know you know your craft cold, so you can stop and start in no time. I also want to focus on listings because it seems like this conversation is potentially a buyer conversation. Listings are critical. Expired listings, calling someone who owns a home and they had their listing on the MLS for 90 days and didn't sell. So then it expired. And that's a whole niche of cold calling and outreach and lead generation for real estate professionals is call expireds. They literally are saying like, I just have my house listed. I am a homeowner and this broker didn't perform by bringing a buyer, right? So all top agents that I know, all my top clients, they say sellers first, buyers second, recruiting third, right?
Sure.
So I just wanted to plant that seed that as we're going through examples, but seller focus will be extremely valuable for my listener base.
Okay, fantastic. No, yeah, that is good to know.
Winning the listing. Yeah, go ahead.
We'll touch on it too. The first thing did you want to talk about that now? Or did you want to talk about the call first?
Go ahead. Just want to plant the seed.
Yeah, perfect. Fantastic. So in regards to the call again, just in regards to the call, the second thing, and this leads into what we've just spoken about there as well. The second thing I want to do with the call is I want to ensure that I'm qualifying that I can actually serve this person, not qualify purely with the mindset that is this person a qualified person for my listing? No. Is this person qualified for me to be having a conversation with? Is this person a decision maker? And I need to kill two objections now so they don't come up later. And that we can talk about that if you want as well.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. You want to take it away?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So something that we teach in our, so I don't know if you've heard of NLP before, neuro-linguistic programming. So I'll be completely, this is just my opinion. right? After studying that, there are some things I take from that which are fantastic, and I don't want to get sued. But there's some things in there which I didn't find too valuable per se. So there are some things in there which I personally don't. I'm more of a science guy, right? So there are some things in there which I decided I'll leave that on the shelf and I'm taking that. But there are some things in there which I find very interesting. And now from a sales perspective, one of the most powerful tools that I've taken from that is something called a pre-frame. And what that means is if I look at my sales conversation as a frame, this is the frame, the conversation that we're going to have. The pre-frame is what I need to have a pre-conversation about before we get into this conversation. Now, generally, you do that in your sales call, and you would do that again when you start your in-person conversation with your potential client. Now, what we want to do is we want to position ourselves as a trusted advisor. And the second thing that we want to do in our pre-frame is we want to ensure that we're killing two potential objections up front before they come up later. Now, a lot of people ask me and say, how do I stop this objection or how do I stop that objection? My students don't deal with those objections. They don't face them. And the reason why is they kill them up front without this person even knowing it. Now, the two objections that we want to kill is I need to speak to someone. I need to speak to my wife. I need to speak to my husband. I need to speak to God. I need to speak to the dog, whatever objection might be. And the second one is I need to think about it. Now, these two objections are very common with real estate agents or whoever it might be. So what we want to do is I don't want to come up to that objection and then use some word track, some old school crap script, which doesn't work anymore, which everyone's used. I don't want to use that. I want to be consultative because I want to position myself as a trusted advisor and I want to maintain that rapport. So the way that we do that, when you meet with your potential client, you build some rapport and you have your initial conversation, whatever it might be. What you basically want to do is you want to ask the person, you want to let the person know and say, look, generally the way this conversation goes is I'm going to ask you, and I don't want you guys to use this as a script. I want you to make this yours. It's more the foundations or the fundamentals I want you to be able to understand. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's a framework. I don't like teaching script. I like teaching framework. So the framework I want you to use is you let your potential client know and say, look, the way this conversation generally goes is I'm going to ask you lots of questions. And the reason why is because unlike a lot of other real estate agents out there, what I don't want to do is just tell you about the houses that I have listed. It's not going to benefit you. It's not going to help you. I don't want to waste your time, drive you around and look at all these different properties that we have if they're going to be of no use to you. So the way that I'm going to do, I can do that. The way I can help you with that. I'm going to ask you lots of questions so I can actually find out what it is that you're actually looking for, what it is that you want, and what it is that you actually need. Is that cool? Is that okay with you?
Of course.
Now, the reason I say that is because that tells the person, oh, this person is not just going to try to sell me. So I'm starting to minimize buyer resistance, trust. That's the first thing. And it opens them up it opens the door to have a real conversation. And we'll talk about that because this is crucial. Your listeners need to know about something called a real conversation, right? So we're going to talk about that today because it's so important. The second thing I let them know is that they look out of curiosity. Let's pretend at the end of this whole process, you're happy and you find something you really like. Out of curiosity, is there anyone else that you probably need to speak to first before you can make a decision? Or if you were happy and you wanted to proceed, could you do that on your own? Is there anyone else that we need to get involved? Now, she goes, yes, of course, I need to speak to my husband. Then why am I going to go on a day, 2 day, whatever it is, drive around, conversation, deep dive conversation with this person? If this person is not the only decision maker, why am I going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm going to not waste my time, but I'm going to have this deep dive conversation with this person. And then at the end, they're going to give me the objection and say, I need to speak to so-and-so about that. Now, all these sales trainers out there, they teach this bullshit script saying, now I need to combat this objection. You can't. They're buying a house. Of course, they've got to speak to someone. So what I want to do is I don't want to deal with that objection later. I want to know now because this person's not the only decision maker. So I need to find out who that person is. And I need to say, okay, fantastic, no problem. Can we get them involved now? Or what's the best time to get this person involved? Now, a lot of real estate agents now might be thinking, oh, but I might lose a sale. Mate, if you don't combat this now, I'm going to be dealing with that objection later and Now Anne Smith or Karen is going to go talk to her husband and do the selling for you. Now, who's going to sell your property better, you or Karen? You.
Always.
So I need to make sure up front that the decision maker is going to be present. Now, thirdly, and by the way, this takes me normally 2 or 3 minutes. Right? I'm just running through the actual context behind it. Now, the third thing I want to do is I want to let the person know and say, look, sometimes, and I want to do this with a smile because I want to have fun. I want to maintain rapport. So I want to let them know and say, look, sometimes what happens is at the end of it, you might not be comfortable. You know, you might not like me. You might not be happy with wanting to proceed. That's completely okay. But what sometimes happens, and although it's very rare, right? Although it's very rare, sometimes what happens is people don't feel comfortable. They don't want to proceed, and they don't actually want to go ahead. But what they tell me is they say they want to think about it. But what they really mean is they're not really interested. I just want to let you know, even though I've got a beard, I'm not an aggressive guy. I'm pretty chill. If you're not happy, you don't want to go ahead, you can let me know. Is that cool? Would you let me know if you don't want to go ahead? They normally laugh and go, no problem. That's cool. No problem. So what that does is when people say, I need to think about it, 99% of the time, it's bullshit. It's not real. You don't mind if I use a bit of language here and there. I won't swear too much. I'm an Australian man. I can't help it, right? So 99% of the time when someone says, I need to think about it, what they're really telling you is, I don't want to tell you my real objection, and I'm going to use a smoke screen that I need to think about. We can always talk about what to do to overcome that if that comes up. But by saying this now, it makes them feel comfortable enough that they potentially don't need to say that objection at the end, because they feel comfortable enough to actually tell you if they don't want to go ahead with it. So what I've done right now is I've done 3 things in my pre-frame. I've got permission to ask deep diving questions, which is the most important part of your sales process and the most important part of me being able to learn what I need to learn for me to prescribe a property. That's number 1. Number 2, I've killed the I need to speak to objection, because they've told me they're going to tell me 2 things. Either, yes, I need to speak to so-and-so, I get them involved, or they tell me, no, I can make a decision on my own. No problem. Well, what's she going to say at the end? I need to speak to so-and-so. You just told me you can make a decision on your own. So you've killed that objection. And then number 3, I've also killed the I need to think about it objection, because I've let them know that they can feel comfortable enough to tell me, right? So I normally do that within the first 3 minutes. Very easy, very simple. I want your viewers, your realtors, to be able to make that concept theirs. Make it yours. Make it your personality. Make it your framework. Don't try to script and be me, because then it's going to come across the script. You're going to look like an actor or a robot. And actors only work because they have a script to work on, and the other actor knows what script to work on as well. In real life, it doesn't work that way. So try to keep it as a framework versus an actual script. Now, Jeff, are you the mind if I call you Jeff, or would you prefer Jeffrey? What's better for you?
Jeff is cool.
Cool, Jeff. Now, I don't want to just go on to another topic before I don't cover what you spoke about earlier. So what was that you wanted to discuss in regards to the phone for doing outreach for people who have had their property listed but they haven't sold? Is that right?
Right. So you've covered a few key areas of qualification, right? It's making sure that you're talking to the decision maker, super key, and making sure to get their permission to ask questions, super key, and also making sure that they aren't later going to say, I'm going to think about it. You've already gotten them to say they won't do that. I think those are all great suggestions. Now, with regard to the expired listings, the situation is that the house was on the MLS, multiple listing service. It was for sale. And 90 days went by. The contract expired, because all listings have to have a contract with a deadline. You can't just sign up with a broker and he says it never terminates, right? So at some point in the future, it terminates. 90 days is a common window. And so that listing expires. Now, what is common that day, the homeowner gets a flood of calls and mailers and all this, because other brokers know there's blood in the water.
Of course.
If you're a shark, you smell that. You say, that listing didn't sell. I could do better. But the homeowner has already raised their hand and voted and said, I want to sell my property, and probably worked for months preparing it to get it ready to sell, right? And they're ready to just go have this thing be sold. So With a framework style, you mentioned not a script, but a framework. What would be a good way to approach that type of home seller, from a cold call standpoint, zero rapport, and just calling them up?
Perfect. So you mentioned something which I want to touch on.
Okay.
And that is that most people go into those calls, again, like we touched on before, with the mindset, I can do better. Says who? Now, I'm not saying says who? So I'm not saying don't be motivated. I'm not saying don't be driven. I'm not saying don't be motivated. Of course, I want you to believe in yourself. But says who? So if I make that call, what I want to do is I want to learn that. Can I? So if I go into that call again with an assumption, I'm doing it again. I'm calling this person with an assumption that I can do better. I'm going with the assumption that I'm going to get this person's house and I'm going to list. Always be closing, boiler room. No, silly, commodity. What I want to do is I want to call this person and I want to have a conversation and say, look, I've noticed that, again, don't use it by script. But what I want to learn is I want to say, look, I noticed that you were listed. Yes, I'm calling you because 90 days have happened. And I know a lot of other people are calling you as well. I know they are. Because this is why. This is why they're calling you. So what I want to ask, out of curiosity, is I don't know if I can help you. I don't know, because I don't. So what I want to do is I want to call you because I want to learn if I can. So what I want to learn, if you don't mind me asking, Anne, Jane, Karen, sorry, I'm pretending these are typical American names. So forgive my ignorance. So what I want to learn is what happened. Now, what I want to do is I just want to sit down and wait. That's it. What happened? Now, there's no point me pitching this person. There's no point me presenting to this person. What am I presenting to? I don't even know what happened yet. Now, remember what happened in reality and what happened in this person's mind is different. What happened in reality is not actually important. What happened in what this person thinks happened is their reality. So what I want to learn is I want to understand and learn, number one, up front. In this person's mindset, in this person's experience, what do they think happened? Now, they can tell you a whole bunch of things. If they tell you, oh, the realtor was this and that, all she tried to do was this and this and this and this and this. Now, what good is it me coming in here with a presupposition that I'm going to pitch or present to this person like everyone else? I'm going to now do exactly what she didn't like about the other person. So I've just shot myself in the foot because I haven't taken a step back and actually learned what happened. So what this person will actually tell me, the feedback that she or he gives me in regards to what happened, they will tell me what I need to do to sell them. I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to tell you now and your reader and your listeners, Jeffrey, a script on what they should say. Because then I'm assuming how to sell this person. How can I sell this person if I don't even know what happened yet? What am I selling to? So what I need to learn now, first of all, is what happened. Now, this person tells me they didn't do enough marketing. Now, when you say they didn't do enough marketing, I don't say, what do you mean? I have to say, I didn't do enough marketing. How do you mean? How do you mean? Because when a person gives me an answer, there's an emotional, sorry, my hands can't be seen. There's an emotional underlying reason as to why this person had some kind of conflict as to why their property didn't sell most of the time. So what I want to learn, I'll step back a bit. I like using body language. So most of the time, what I want to do is I want to find that out. The way I do that is I use words like how. So how do you mean I didn't do that marketing? Well, I think they could have done this or this or this or this, but they didn't do so. Okay, sure. After a person starts unpacking about what they think happened, I'm not going to present. I'm not going to pitch. What am I presenting or pitching to? All I want to do is I want to go in like a detective. I want to go in like an investigator. Your job as a realtor, as I mentioned in the start of this podcast interview, your job as a realtor, your job as a real estate agent is I want to find out what this person wants and needs, and then, only then, later, have I got the right to prescribe this person a property, what they want and need. The vehicle I use to give them what they want and need is a property. That's my job. My job is not to pitch my listing. If you do that, you're going to be a commodity. If you're listening to this interview right now, you're a realtor listening to an interview, which means you're driven, which means you want to be a top performer. So if you want to be a top performer, you can't play commodity stuff. You can't play commodity games. Everyone's going in there calling him or her saying, I can do better. I can do better. They've got commission breath. Your person can smell this from a mile away. So what you want to do is you want to come in as a detective, as an investigator. You want to find out what happened. You want to ask questions. This person is going to tell you because everyone else is just trying to pitch. It's going to be a breath of fresh air. It's going to be refreshing. Someone actually cares. Someone's actually asking what happened. Someone actually wants to learn what happened. Now, the fact that I'm calling this person, yes, this person knows that you want to sell the house. Of course they do. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that. But I'm not telling them that I can yet. I'm not going in there saying, I can do better. Says who? Says who? How do I know why this person took their property off the market? Maybe something happened. Who am I to assume anything? So what I need to do first is I need to have a conversation to understand what actually happened, to understand, can I help this person? And by doing so, it takes away the buyer resistance. And by taking away the buyer resistance, what this does is this takes away the barriers. This takes away the tension. By taking away the tension, by taking away the barriers, I can have an actual deep dive conversation with this person, a truthful conversation with this person in regards to what they actually want and need. And that is how I position myself as a trusted authority versus just another realtor. And when I do that, that's how I can start getting proper commission versus fighting or negotiating about commission, which is probably a good segue, if it's called you, Jeffrey, to talk about the topic of truth, the topic of having a real, in inverted commas, sales conversation, if that's cool with you. But first, let me stop so I'm not going into priest mode, and tell me if you've got any questions or anything else that you'd like to dive or unpack about.
Cool. I think that's a good stopping point as far as that topic, and you delivered a lot of value. I mean, it really is about breaking down their reluctance and their barrier and not assuming, learning about them prior to saying really anything about you. You know, I have mentors that have been doing this 25 years, and people hang up on them. They'll call them back a different day and say, are you in a better mood? And they're looking for, the home seller is looking for a blind offer, without giving any information about the home or letting anyone come walk through and check out the condition. And one of my mentors is like, well, I'm a professional and I'm going to make a professional offer. I'm not going to make a blind offer that I can't back up. And in order to do that, I just need some answers from a few questions from you.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly. And look, to your point, talking about the word professional, if I went to let's pretend I needed a lawyer, right? I need a lawyer. Now, there's two types of, I hope there's not the first type, but let's pretend there's two types of lawyers. Lawyer one, the first type, is I call them they call me, and before they even know about my case, before they even know what I'm involved in, before they even know what I'm going to have to potentially go through, before they even know the time it'll take, before they know the condition of what they're dealing with, they offer me a price. How comfortable, how confident am I going to be in that lawyer? Why would I? How could I? Am I going to trust this person? What sort of lawyer would that be? Is that a professional? It's a joke. It's embarrassing. Where if I spoke to another lawyer and they're like, well, how can I give you a price? I don't even know what I'm dealing with here. How can I? So what I want to do is, I'm a professional. I need to ask you a series of questions. And by doing so, I can actually learn whether I can, in fact, actually help you or not. But in order for me to find out if I can, I need to ask you a few questions. And then obviously I can let you know what it's going to look like investment-wise to be able to help you with this. But I need to actually know what I'm dealing with first before I can let you know what that looks like. Otherwise, I'm just going to be anyone else out there just trying to give you a price. But how can they give you a price based on something they don't actually know what they're trying to help you or solve yet? So yes, that's a more confronting or real conversation with the person. But that person's going to know, okay, well, this person, they're not just going to try to sell me. This person doesn't even know if they can help me yet. This person needs to actually learn what it is that I'm actually dealing with before they can actually give me a price. If I went to a doctor and you went into a medical practitioner and the doctor's like, oh, by the way, this is what it's going to cost you. And I've got all these things on the shelf and this is going to cost you this much and you also might like this and this and this. This person, how comfortable are you going to be with a medical specialist? You're going to think they're a joke. You're like, why is this person trying to upsell me everything on their shelf? This person's not even trying to find out why I'm sick or how I'm sick. This person's not even asking me questions. How can you prescribe medication if you don't even know what you're dealing with? It's a circus. It's a joke. So knowing those two metaphors and examples, how am I going to be a real estate professional and call people and prescribe them property without even knowing their situation? How am I going to ask for the listing? How am I going to give them prices based on not even know what I'm dealing with? I'm positioning myself exactly the same way. And this is what I mean by me being a little bit different in regards to my approach, because a lot of people out there are like, just get the sale, man, just get the sale, just go hard, hardcore close the person. Silly. It sounds cool because it drives you and it's motivational cocaine. So people think it's a little diet pill. It's going to solve my little sales problems. It's not real. They're getting rich because they're selling you something that you think you need, but it's not going to work. It's silly. It's not consultative. So what I want to learn first is I want to learn, can I actually help this person? And to your example that you mentioned about your mentor, 100%. Call them back later. You in a better mood? Can we talk now? Fantastic. Right. If the person's not right to have the conversation now, no problem. Why am I going to try to pitch this person right now? They're telling me they're not in the place to be able to do so. I can come back later, but the aim is to there's no point in me prescribing a price yet if I don't actually know what I'm dealing with. How can I actually help this person? If I don't know if I can, how can I just give them a price for price sake? That's how you go to the bottom of the pricing barrel and you start fighting for the scraps of negotiation. That's how you get there. People wonder why they get there. That's how. It's because you prescribe yourself as a person to be able to get there. Now, if you don't mind, Jeff, I might just talk a little bit about some of the questions and the importance of asking questions and a little bit about process, if that might be able to help your potential viewers or listeners. Would that work for you, Jeff?
Yes. And you also mentioned something about trust. Is that right?
Correct. So the way that we build trust, and I want to just take you through, before I even go into the process, let's talk a little bit about the premise of the framework of your sales conversation. Now, and I apologize, I've got a bit of a cold, as your viewers will listen to probably here, so I'll try my best to slow things down because of my accent and to make sure it's a little bit more clearer. So there's two things that I want to do in my sales conversation. There's two things that I want to do. I want to build trust and get to the truth. I want to build trust and get to the truth. And number two, I want to help this person sell themselves on me versus me trying to sell them. So there's something that we teach. What we teach is I'm not the best person to sell this person. I'm not. The best person to sell them is them. They know them better than I know them. So why am I going to be arrogant enough or assume that I'm going to be better at selling them than they are going to be better at selling them? So most people out there teach, this is how you sell people. No, silly, stupid. It's too hard. It's hard work. Why am I going to put all that hard work on myself and try to sell this person when it's easier for this person to sell themselves? Way easier. So I want to do two things. I want to have a trust-based conversation. And let me look at the camera because I'm looking at myself. I want to have a trust-based conversation, and I want to have a conversation on the premise and the framework of getting to the truth, number one. And number two, I want to always have the mindset that my conversations are all about helping this person sell themselves versus me trying to sell them. When you try to sell someone, people know it, and it puts up buyer's resistance. When I nurture and lead the conversation and I use a framework, a process I help them sell themselves versus me trying to sell them. So let me touch on how to do exactly both those things now, if that works for you and if that will be of value to your viewers. Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So the first thing we want to do, if we're on the phone, let's go from start to finish. So the first thing we want to do when we get on the phone is your phone call is the whole intention of the phone call is you want to learn, can I help this person? Can I actually help? I don't know if I can. Don't assume. Because if you go in there like, yes, I can, you're going to either waste your own time or I'm going to potentially waste this person's time, or I might be having sales conversations with people who are not qualified to be having conversations with me in the first place. So time is everything. You can always make money. You can never get back more time. So that's crucial. Number 2, the point of the call is to actually have an in-person, if you possibly can, conversation. Sell the next step. What you want to do is you want to sell the next step. You don't want to pitch. You don't want to present. Not yet. Even if the person pushes for it. I can't. The moment I do that, I'm putting myself in the position, like I mentioned earlier, the examples earlier, you are the medical doctor giving someone a prescription without knowing their ailments, without knowing their pain, without knowing their sickness. I'm the lawyer telling someone how much it's going to cost without knowing their case. You are the same person as that. And as much as of a freak show example, as I mentioned, that would look like, an absolute circus that looks like, by involving yourself in the same thing, you are joining the circus, just like everybody else out there. Don't. That's why people are paying peanuts and fighting for commission, because you're playing a silly commodity game. Don't. If you want to be a trusted advisor, if you want to be a property consultant and you're helping people solve their needs with the vehicle of property, if you want to do that, follow this process that I'm going to outline now. Now, what is the process? The first thing we want to do, as mentioned, is you want to build some rapport. Now, rapport doesn't mean I come in all happy and giddy and, hey, I'm all excited. No, if this person's in a shit mood or they're grumpy or they're not the sort of person who's all happy, jolly, and I'm coming in all excited and highly extroverted, I'm going to break rapport with this person. I'm not going to have rapport with this person, because rapport means this person is someone who is relatable to me. So what I want to do is I want to meet them at their level. If they're chilled and they're calm, be chilled and calm. If they're a little bit more temper, cool. Match their energy. Remember, my job is not to pitch or come in high energy. Come in with their energy. Meet them where they are. Because the whole aim is I want to help them sell them. That's number 1. That's what rapport is. And obviously our program is 12 hours long. We haven't got 12 hours here, right? So we'll just go in through bullet points to help deep dive enough to help your viewers. And stop me whenever you want, Jeff, if you want to deep dive or unpack something a bit more. The second part after...
You can go ahead.
Perfect. So the second part after building rapport is I want to pre-frame. And we've mentioned how to do that earlier. So what the pre-frame is I set the frame on how the conversation is going to go. I'm telling them subconsciously, I'm in charge of this conversation here, not you. I'm in charge. I'm going to run the show. But I'm doing it in a consultative way. The way that I do that is I kill 2 objections up front, and I also get permission from them that I'm going to have to ask deep diving conversations. So all I do is I ask them and say, look, what I want to do today, I don't know if I can help you or not, John. I don't know if I can. So what I don't want to do is I'm not going to pitch you like everyone else. I don't want to do that, because how can I pitch you if I don't know if I can help you? Is that cool? Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
What I want to do, John, is I want to ask you lots of questions, Jeff. Let's say Jeff instead of John, right? So, Jeff, what I want to do is I'm going to ask you lots of questions. And the reason why is I want to actually find out, as I mentioned, if I can help you. And number 2 is I want to actually find out what it is that you probably want and need. And then what's going to happen is if I can, in fact, actually help you, then I'll let you know what properties we have, or then I can let you know whether we can actually list your property, if I can actually help you get to what you want and need. Is that cool?
Makes total sense.
Perfect. Now, before we do, Jeff, I just want to make sure, let's just pretend hypothetically. The end of this whole thing, you're happy, you want to go ahead. Is there anyone else that you probably need to speak to prior to be able to list with me or be able to make a decision that we might need to know about?
Yeah, my father owns a property.
Okay, so your father is the one who owns the property, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Now, if it's okay, can we also get your father involved? Because as much as it's important to obviously learn about your needs, I need to find out about your father's needs as well. So can we schedule a time to get your father involved now, or can we potentially get him on the call now? And what I want to do is I want to get the decision makers present. Now, a lot of people freak out here. They start getting scared. Their scarcity mindset kicks in here. Oh no, I'm going to lose the listing though if I don't continue and pitch this person. No, I'm not. You need to make a decision that you are not going to stay a commodity. We're called the 5% Institute. That's the name of my business. I want to teach you to become a 5% performer. Jeff mentioned that your guests are normally 1% performers. If you want to be that, you need to have a mindset that there is money out there. You can get, but you have to give yourself permission to follow a process that's going to get there. By having a scarcity mindset here and freaking out and going, this person is not a decision maker. Why am I going to have a deep dive conversation with a person who is not a decision maker? Why? Right. So I want to get the decision maker present. I want to kill that objection.
Let me throw a variable at you.
Yeah.
Contact says, oh, my dad, he's old. Like, he's the decision maker, but I'm going to be point of contact for this. And then, I'm going to report everything to him.
Okay. So what I want to do in that situation is that person's telling me that they're a gatekeeper. That person's telling me they're a gatekeeper. Right? So what I want to do is what's happening here is them saying that they want to be the point of contact. Why is it that they want to be the point of contact? They obviously don't feel comfortable enough for you to be able to relay any information. Now, if the situation is one where they are the actual decision maker, they're saying there's someone else who might need to be sort of kept in the loop, but they are the decision maker, then we can go ahead. But if they're saying, no, I'm not the only decision maker and I'm going to play gatekeeper, I'm not going to play that game. I'm not. This person is not going to sell on my behalf. They're not. I can help them sell them if they are a decision maker. But this person is not going to sell someone else and waste my hour, 2, 3 hours with this person. Why would I do that when I can have a more deep diving conversation with someone else, which is certain after this process that we're going to go through, because I'm going to show you how to close easy, right? Why would I have this conversation when I can have that one? Why am I going to play roulette with this person when I can play this game over here and the odds are higher than this one? Why am I going to do that? If this person is telling me, if they're not comfortable enough with me relaying the message to that person and they want to do it, they're saying, I want to use your time for free consulting and I want to use your time to get information. I'm going to waste your time for free information and then I'm going to do the selling after I've spoken to other people. That's what they're telling you. So they're telling you, I'm going to waste your time, actually. So why am I going to waste my time? Now, guess what? Most people in that situation, do you know what they would do, Jeff? Oh, no problem. Okay, no problem. Yeah, waste my time. I'm a commodity. You can buy me. Why am I going to position myself as right? You can't buy me. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say no. It's not how we work. If you went to a specialist, as mentioned earlier, would they put up with that behavior? Would they go ahead and proceed with that? How can I help someone if I can't actually find out who the people are who are actually sick? How can I prescribe something to someone if I don't know everyone involved? How can I? So why am I going to entertain that conversation? I hope that makes sense.
So would your philosophy be, if they're not willing to do that, then it's a no deal?
So what I would do first is I wouldn't just assume. As mentioned earlier, I wouldn't just assume. So I would say, when you say that you need to be the person that relays that information, how do you mean? How do you mean?
Do you want me to answer?
I'm not going to, just whatever. It doesn't matter. The whole thing is I'm not going to assume that I know why. Never assume. Assumptions kill sales conversations because assumptions are not based on trust. Assumptions are based on me thinking I know the answer.
Right.
I want to trust this person to give me the answer. So when you say you need to find the information, and then you're going to tell this person how you need. So this person says, well, the reason why is this, and this, and this, and this. So what you're telling me, if this is right, this is correct, is in the past, you've probably spoken to other real estate agents or realtors. And because I try to pitch you and present to you, you don't want to waste your father's time. And you're worried that they're just going to try to pitch him. And you don't want your father to go through all these pitches and presentations because you don't want to waste his time. Is that what you mean? I want to actually understand what this person means. Now, if they say, yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So what do I need to do? What needs to happen for you to be comfortable enough to me to have a conversation with your father as well? And the reason being is if this is also your father's and this is also yours, you're both equally important. How can I help you and your father if I don't talk to your father? I mentioned earlier, Jeff, I'm not just got, how can I help you? I don't even know if I can list with you yet. I don't even know if I can list your property yet. I don't know if I can help sell you this property. I don't know. I need to learn if I can, but the only way that I can learn is I need to actually speak to you to actually find out what you need. How can I help you if I don't have that conversation? So what I want to do is I want to get the conversation down to a place of trust. I want to get the conversation to a place of trust. Without that trust, I can't have a real conversation. If I can't have a real conversation, I can't help this person sell themselves. A person can only sell themselves if I have a real conversation. And the whole aim of my conversation is to guide this person to sell themselves versus me trying to sell them. Does that make sense, Jeff?
It does.
Okay, perfect. So what I want to do in the pre-frame is I want to find out, as mentioned, I want to kill those two objections. I won't keep beating this dead horse. I've gone over a few times. I want to kill the two objections, and I also want to let them know that I'm going to ask a lot of questions. Now, the reason why I want to let them know about the question part is the next segment of our sales conversation is the most important. And what that is I want to find pain. I want to find pain. Now, this might sound a bit brutal. But I told your viewers I'm going to be honest, and I told them I'm going to be truthful, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Now, most people, what they do when they're finding pain is they say, hey, say, for example, are you listing or are you buying? Give me an example.
Listing.
Okay. So if you're listing, what most people do is they say, so tell me what went wrong, or tell me why you're trying to sell this house. I'm trying to sell it.
Whatever. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to sell it because I want something bigger. Okay, no problem. They move on to the next question. Now, is that the actual answer? Is that actually why they want a new house?
No.
Now, when you say no, what do you mean?
It's a smokescreen, just like a smokescreen objection. That's a smokescreen reason. If you were their family member, they would tell you the real reason, the deep reason why. But because you don't have that level of rapport and trust, even though you've built some, you're not there yet. So you got to dig deeper.
Exactly right. So what happens here is most people, they have something called surface level conversations. Surface level conversations. So I ask a question, why are you trying to sell this house? I need something bigger. Okay, no problem. And I'm writing something down, needs bigger house. Oh man, I've got something listed for them. This is awesome. No, I'm still playing a commodity game. They haven't given me the real reason. It sounds like the real reason, and to this person, it is the real reason why. But it's not. It's not the truth. That's not the truth yet. See, when they say they need a bigger house, why? So when you're saying you need more bigger house, how do you mean? More rooms, bigger living area? How do you mean? Now, if this person tells me I need more space, okay, I want to unpack and find out why they need more space. Now, they generally need more space because there is a pain that they are going through in their current situation that's causing them friction. If I have a growing family and I've got 4 kids and they're sharing 2 bedrooms, that's going to mean pain. They're fighting with each other. They haven't got space. They're not sleeping. They're yelling. They're making noise. I'm not getting sleep. It's affecting my life. When I bring people around the house, I feel embarrassed because I'm not able to give my kids a room each like they do by keeping up with the Joneses. This is all pain for this person. So what I'm doing is I want to find out the actual underlying reason as to why this person needs more space. That's a conversation in regards to the truth about why they need more space. They tell me I want more space, but that's not what I'm going to take on face value. That's a surface level conversation. That's not the real reason as to why this person needs more space. So what I want to do is I want to learn why. And if they get more space, what's that going to mean? Now, what I want to do is I want to ask questions and I want them to tell me why. I want them to tell me why. For two reasons. Number one, it gives me the information that I need to prescribe the right house, or if I can, in fact, list them. But number two, and more importantly, whenever they're telling me what their real underlying emotional reason as to why they're having pain with their current situation, when they're describing that to me, they're talking. And if they're talking, who's listening? Me and them.
They are too.
Yeah. So if they're listening to themselves talk about their own pain and the emotional problems and pain of their situation, they're telling themselves, they're expressing to themselves the reality of their situation. And most people keep this uncovered. It's subconscious. When I bring it out into the open and I get them to tell them their pain in emotional detail, who's selling who?
They're selling themselves.
Correct. And the best person to sell them is them. The problem with a lot of realtors is we're having surface level conversations. So what happens is when they say, oh, I need more space because I want more room. There's no pain to that. I've had that conversation 1,000 times. No one's selling nobody. It's no emotional buying. But when a person starts going into why they need more space, what it's going to mean if they get more space, and they're telling you why, they're also telling them. So they are selling them. Now, this is where people might get a bit eerie, but if you want to be a trusted advisor and you want to make high commission and you want to be a top 5% or 1% performer, this is what you need to do. I don't want to find one pain point. If I'm feeling sick, I've got, as I mentioned earlier, Jeff, I've got the cold right now. I'm fighting it. Now, did I go to the doctor? No, I'm stubborn. I'm very stubborn, right? I didn't go to the doctor. I just thought, I take some cold or flu tablets. Now, if I'm a little bit sick, I probably won't make a decision to go to the doctor. But if I had a blocked nose and I lost my voice and I've also got a fever, maybe I might think about it. But if I've got a blocked nose, I'm coughing, I've got teary eyes, I've lost my voice, I've got a fever, I can't move properly, now I'm going to go see a medical specialist. I'm going to take action because now I'm sick, I'm ill. I'm not sick anymore, I'm very ill. I'm critical. I'm going to take action. Now, the same is true for a person listing or a person wanting to buy. If I'm having a pain conversation with someone to learn their pains and they give me one pain point and it's surface level, the person might not take action, just like I didn't in my situation right now. If you get a person to describe their emotional pain with their situation at least 3 layers deep, I need more space because I haven't got enough room for my children. When you say you haven't got enough room for your children, how do you mean? They're kicking, they're screaming, they're fighting, they haven't got space. There's clothes and toys everywhere. My older girl's getting angry. She wants to spend more time in the lounge because she hasn't got enough space to spend room with her sister. She hasn't got. If they start going into that pain point and I get them to tell me about at least 3 to 5 pain points, this person's no longer sick. This person's critical now. So I want to pull at least 5 deep diving pain points from this person and have 5 deep dive conversations about pain with this person. And I want them to tell me the pain that they're going through with their current situation. If it's a listing and it's after 90 days, you want to get this person listed, and I'm now in the conversation stage with this person, I want them to tell me about the pain of listing with that previous guy. He didn't do enough marketing. What does that mean? It means you didn't make enough effort, and this and this and this and this. Okay, when you didn't make enough effort, how's it affected you? What's happened here? It means you spend more time with other potential clients and not with me and this and this and this. You want to get that person feeling sick. The more emotionally involved and charged that person is, the more they're going to want to take some kind of action. Now, some people might find that very manipulative. Guess what? It's human behavior. You've got to make a decision. Do I want to use human behavior with my sales conversations and help this person sell themselves? Or do I want to be all nice and service level and not get deep diving into a conversation with the person? You can if you want, but you're going to say commodity. Make a decision. Do you want to be a trusted advisor? Do you want to be a top 5% performing realtor? Or do you want to stay a commodity? Make a decision. What do you want to do? If you want to position yourself and make high commission, this is the conversation you need to have. You need to find pain. Now, after finding pain, what I want to do is I also want to find out, what does a desired outcome look for you? What does it look like? So I want to take this person from this negative, painful place, and I want to take them to a place of desire. What does a positive, desired outcome look like for you? What does that mean? What does that look like? What are you looking for? So I'm taking from negative state, and I want to pull them from this place, and I want to take them to a positive state. And I want them to describe what it's going to mean when they own this new property, or what it's going to mean when they sell this property. What is this going to mean? If you got rid of all this pain here, what is that going to mean positive-wise? What does that look like for you? What does this mean? So I'm taking them from a negative emotional state and I'm taking them to this positive emotional state. And what this does is this person starts telling themselves emotionally, oh, it's going to mean this. It's going to mean I'm not going to have these ridiculous mortgage payments on this property. And what's that going to mean if you got rid of that? Oh, I'm going to have more time with family, and I can leave that job that I've been in. I can go do what I want. I can do this and that. You start taking this weight off their shoulders. If I can buy this house, it's going to mean this. I want to get to the emotional state of what it's going to mean if they get what they want. So I want to take it from negative to positive. And the reason why is I want them to sell themselves, because human beings are visual, subconscious creatures. If they start expressing to you, Jeff, what it's going to mean if they own this property, or if they list this property and sell it, if they start telling you what it's going to mean, they will subconsciously and consciously start visualizing that end outcome and state. And if you can get them to do that properly, if they can visualize it, the way that human beings are, it's just how we are as creatures. If we can visualize it, they've already in their mind either listed or already sold with you. They've already done it. They've already done it. They just don't know it yet. They've done it. There's no other realtors doing this. So if you do that, subconsciously in their mind, you've already programmed them. And yes, it might sound manipulative. Like, manipulation is not always bad. If you go to a chiropractor and they try to manipulate your back to fix you, well, that's manipulation. It's not all manipulation is bad, right? But if you can get them to have that conversation, they are now selling themselves on you either listing or you've already sold it. Now what I want to do, and let me know if I'm going too fast. Now what I want to do, so as mentioned, this normally takes 12 hours to cover, right? Exactly.
You don't have to cover everything today. We can have you back too.
Perfect. So the next step, and we can always go back into this later. So the next step is what I want to do now is I want to talk about price. I want to talk about impact. I want to talk about money. So what I do is they've talked about their pain. So what we want to do now is we want to uncover and say, what's this costing you from not being able to sell this house? What's this costing you? Time-wise, money-wise, what's this costing you? I want to learn what it's costing them. Now, if they start explaining to you how it's costing them time-wise, how it's costing them time away from their family, how it's costing them time to commute to and from work because they're living so far from their workplace, how it's costing them with extra repayments that they can potentially put into something else and fund financially or whatever it is. If they start telling you about all these problems, what you want to do here is you want to get them to make the price of cost of not taking action high. You want to make it expensive. And the reason being, and most people don't do this in their sales process, the reason why we cover this here is by doing this now, when you mention your commission later, it's going to be a fraction to what the cost is of doing nothing now. You see, the only reason why people fight with commission is because they're comparing your commission in regards to comparing it to context. Is this too expensive or is it not too expensive? See, if I'm having a surface level conversation, they're going to compete with you on price. But if they're comparing your commission to the pain of not taking some kind of action with you, and that is high, that is expensive, time-wise, pain-wise, money-wise, cost and opportunity-wise, all of a sudden, doing nothing is costing me an arm and a leg. So now your commission is nothing. That's how you kill the pricing objection. And that is probably another conversation in itself. So we won't deep dive into that today. Now, after we've done that, and what I want to be doing, as I've been doing today, Jeff, does this make sense, everything so far?
Everything makes sense. And I've been doing direct sales since I was 18 years old. I've done tons of high-level sales training, and you're hitting all the marks. So
perfect.
Great job. I'll let you continue.
You'll probably notice, as I've just done throughout this process, is I stop here and there and I say, does that make sense, Jeff? Or have you got any questions, Jeff, so far? Can you see how I mean when I say that? So whenever I make a statement, you can make statements, but whenever I do, what I want to do at the end is I don't want to say, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? No. I don't want to create a pattern that they see. But what I want to do is I want to get agreement. Everyone looks at Tony Robbins and he's like, if that makes sense, say aye. Say aye. And everyone's putting their hands up and everyone's saying aye. It's not about getting the yes. Everyone's trying to copy the guy and everyone's trying to make the person say yes, yes, yes. No. If you can see a pattern, the person's consciously going to register that there's a pattern happening here. What I don't want is I don't want them to keep saying yes. But through my conversation, through this whole process, what I want to do through the whole process is when I make a statement, I want them to agree. I want to get agreement from this person. When this person agrees, when they give me agreement, what happens every time they agree and they tell me I agree, it's no longer me just making a statement and hoping that they buy what I just said. When I make a statement and they agree with me, they've told them that they agree with me. So if I say, can you see how that makes sense, Jeff? Can you see how that would make sense? And you say, yeah, that makes sense. I can see what that makes sense. You just told yourself that that makes sense. So right. You just sold you that this makes sense. Who's selling who?
They're selling them. And I know what you're talking about with the pattern. I've been on a phone with a realtor when I was buying my first house. Does that make sense? At the end of every single statement or question. And I knew what she was doing because I'm a sales guy.
Exactly right.
And I felt like it was lazy to not have different iterations of that question because I recognize the pattern.
Correct. And it's not so much about asking the question to get a yes. Once again, and they're called tie down sales techniques, right? So a person tries to use a tie down and they think it's about getting yes, yes, yes. No. Stop treating it like it's a robotic script conversation. What I want to elicit agreement from this person. Even if they don't understand. So no, that doesn't make sense. Okay, no problem. I reiterated this person and I want to get them to agree. And I want them to tell me that they agree. When they tell me that they agree, or they tell me that it makes sense, they're also telling themselves that they make sense. And if they're telling themselves, they're selling them. I'm just leading them there, right? So what I want to do after money, what I want to do after that, we've had a conversation about the pain of inaction, the cost of inaction, and what would they put aside to fix this problem? What budget have you allocated, Jeff? What budget did you have in mind to sell this property? Now that we've understood, to help me understand, you've told me you need more space for your girls because they're growing up, they're fighting them. They need their own room. I get it, right? I've had siblings. I've grown up with two sisters. I know what it means to have sisters who need their own space, Jeff. So when you say your daughters need some space, I get it. And this current space is not cutting it. They told me they're fighting and they need their own space. Is that right?
Yep.
Perfect. You've also told me that you need something a lot more closer to work, because you've told me at the moment it's taking an hour to get to work and an hour back. Obviously, that's costing you 2 hours a day.
That's right.
10 hours a week, 40 hours a month in commute time. You've told me that you want to be more present for your daughters because they're growing up. You need obviously more time with them. So you'd like to cut down the commute time. So it's important to you. You told me that you want to be closer to work. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, that's important. So let me make sure that I highlight that. And you've also told me that ideally you'd like to get something that's not going to cost you as much as you're putting repayments on at the moment, because you want to start that business and you also need obviously more space to have that home office. So you want to start that business, you want to free up some cash flow to be able to do that, because you don't want to do the 9 to 5 thing forever. So you've also told me that you need something where the repayments are a little bit less too, right? Would you say that I probably recapped all that correctly?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you telling me. Now, what budget did you put aside to be able to solve these 3 things? Now, don't use that as a script. But what I've done is, after I've gone through their pain points, you'll notice I don't say, you told me you want something close to the city. Is that right? You told me you need more room. Is that right? You told me you want to study. Is that right? No, that's surface level stuff. I've elicited the emotional reasons as to why they want to take some kind of action. And I'm getting agreement from them to say, yes, I agree. It's not so much about yes. They can go, sure. They can say nothing. I need agreement. If they agree with me, now I can say, what did you put aside to solve this problem? What did you have in mind? Now the budget that they put aside to fix this problem, they're going to budget a lot more upstairs now, because the problem's real. Now the problem's expensive. So now potentially I can sell them a more expensive problem than they had in mind. Or the commission they're going to give me to sell this property is going to be a lot more higher, because they just had a conversation with me that they haven't even had with themselves, let alone another real estate agent. Everyone else has stayed on the surface. I just made them sick. I just made them critical. They're an emergency now. Guess who's going to give them the prescription to solve their problems? Me. Are they going to argue with me about the prescription cost? Is that what you do with medical specialists? If I'm critically ill and the doctor says, this is going to be your prescription, this is what it's going to cost you, am I going to fight that guy and say, I can't afford that, give me something cheaper? No, I'm sick. What's it going to cost? I need my health. When you take someone to that place, that's how people don't fight you on commission. I want to do that before I even have my conversation about commission. I want to sell them now as to why they need to pay a certain price in their mind. And notice yet, I haven't told them my commission yet. I haven't even told them if I can actually even help them yet. I haven't prescribed anything, nothing yet. It's all been about them, and they've sold them on why they need to take some kind of action. So I'm having a conversation about the real emotional truth as to buy, whether they want to buy or whether they want to sell. Now, I want to wrap this up because I'm taking a lot of your time, Jeff, and I want to thank you for being, obviously, having your attention for this long. So I'll try to wrap this up a bit faster. I apologize in advance. I do go in a preach mode because this is a very passionate topic for me, because I've sold lots of property and I've bought lots of property, and I've been on the other end mostly as a buyer, and I've had some bad experiences with realtors. So if anyone can just get a nugget of something out of this to help people, then it's been worth my while. So the next stage, after we've gone through money, what I want to do is I want to recap and make sure that I've followed up and I've got everything so far. They say yes. Now what I do, have you got any areas of concern so far? Not have you got any sales objections? No. Have you got any areas of concern so far? No, this sounds all great. Okay, great. Now, based on what you've told me, Jeff, based on what you've told me, if you're selling property, based on what you've told me, I've got 20 properties listed so far. I've got 30 properties listed so far. I've got 50 properties listed so far. But based on what you've told me, there's 5, maybe 6 maybe 6 that can solve your problem. So what I don't want to do, I don't want to waste your time and drive you around all 30. I'm not going to do that. Let's sit down and I'm going to show you how these 5 or these 6 will solve each of your problems. And then you prescribe the property and you show them how each of the properties solve each of their problems. And then when they're interested in one of the properties, then I take my time to go show them the house. Then I do that. Versus driving people around or getting them to drive. Commodity stuff. Everyone else is doing it. Let them waste their time. Perfect. Let them waste their time. What I want to do is I prescribe. This is the ones that you need. This is why. You told me you need more space. Check this out. You told me when I come closer to work, look how far to work this is. Check this out. You save this much time by getting this one. Now, this one might be more important to you. I thought about this one too. Check this one out. So I'm prescribing property, prescribing the right one. Now, after that, what I do is I ask them and I basically say, have you got any areas of concern so far? And what I want to do is when I go show them their places, I want to take all the decision makers there. I don't want to derail the process yet, right? Or if you're listing, what I want to do is I'm trying to list this person. Say, look, I can list this property for you based on what you've told me. This is what it's going to probably sell for. This is what it's going to sell for. And I'm going to try to aim for this, but this is what it's going to sell for. And I can help you achieve this goal. I can help you do this. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And the reason I'm going to do this is because, and the reason I'm also going to market it this way is because, now it's very important that you explain why. Don't say I'm going to market your property on Facebook. That means nothing. People don't buy things. They buy what it will mean when they own it. People don't buy houses. People buy what will it mean when I own that house. When I own that property, what's that going to mean? Am I an investor? What's that going to mean? Am I buying more space? What's that going to mean? Am I buying a shorter commute? What's that going to mean? Am I buying a luxury property? What's that going to mean when the Joneses come around for dinner or my family comes around? What's that going to mean? Am I going to look like an accomplishment? People don't buy things. People don't buy products or services. They buy what it will mean when they own it. So when you explain to them what you're going to do when you list their property, what you're explaining to that person is you explain why you will do it that way and what it's going to mean. Now they understand, and you explain how each of these steps is going to solve each of their pain points. Now, to help you solve this, this is what the investment's going to be. I don't say this is what it's going to cost you. People associate the word cost with expense. So to list with me, this is what the investment's going to be. It's going to be this much. Or could pause, that's what we do. Pause. Say nothing. Just wait. Let them brew. Then after they've done so, now would you like me to help you with this? Would you like me to help you achieve this? Would you like me to help you achieve X, Y, Z? Not hard coming with some hard clothes. Would you like me to help you achieve X, Y, Z? Whatever it is. Soft, easy clothes. And most of the time, I've already sold them because they've sold themselves already by this stage. So by the time I present and by the time I ask for the sale, they sold themselves on you long before you even needed to ask the question. And then if they come up with any areas of concern, your viewers obviously visit my website. I've got so much free information there in regards to how to handle objections in real estate. I've got literally like 1,000 articles. So they can go there and they can find out more information there. Now, Jeff, that was a deep dive conversation and you've been very gracious with your time. I hope that's been some awesome value for your listeners. Is there anything that you would like to unpack in regards to anything that we've discussed so far? Or is there anything else that you would like me to also possibly deep dive in a little bit more to offer either selfish value or insight for yourself that might also help your viewers? Or what questions might some of your viewers or listeners have right now that I probably haven't answered that would probably need some answering?
All good questions. And you've been very generous with your time and your expertise as well. I mean, this is a free platform and you dove in deep already, considering that this is completely free and out there for the world to absorb. So I think the most valuable thing that my listeners can do is go re-listen to this a few times with a legal pad and take notes, because what you just dropped is a very condensed, how can I put this? It's like the strongest coffee you've ever drank. It's like mud, right? Like if you're used to drinking like just normal coffee at a coffee shop or something, no, this is some very, very strong brew, cold brewed coffee that, you have to get used to. So what I'm saying is this is years and years and years of understanding of sales process psychology.
Yes.
And it really doesn't matter the product, but what you just walked through has been the culmination of Tony Robbins sales training I've gone through, Brian Tracy's sales training I've gone through, Vivint, Cutco, multi-billion-dollar companies of sales training that I've gone through. And what you just outlined is the emotional process someone needs to go through in order to buy or trust you enough to sell their most valued asset. So
now, can I tell you something just crazy? And I'm not trying to pitch, but this is what makes us different. As I mentioned earlier, before we even got on this podcast, I don't do any pay-per-click advertising. I don't need to. All those sales training examples that you mentioned cost thousands and thousands of dollars. They cost people thousands and thousands of dollars. My 12-hour program, online course, guess how much it costs?
I don't even know. It should cost that much.
Under $50.
Under $50.
Under $50. And you get the whole thing. Now, people look at me and they go, you're mad. Because I used to sell this in-person training for $3,500 for a person for 2 days, right? And then I thought to myself, you know what? Let me just make this ridiculously priced where it's just silly. But I know that people would go through this program and they can't help but saying, I've got to tell my sister, I've got to tell my brother who's in sales. And it's not just for real estate agents, because like you mentioned before, it's not so much about I sell real estate, so I need to have a real estate sales process. No, that's not your job. Your job as a sales professional is I need to have a deep diving conversation to help a person achieve their wants and needs. And the vehicle that I help this person achieve it is with real estate, is with a mortgage, is with a car, is with a high-end luxury product, is with phones, is with some sort of solution or SaaS product, marketing or coaching or whatever it is. The sales process, if you're having a consultative face-to-face process, I have students literally from every single niche, from places in Malaysia, from China to America to Africa to Australia to the UK, France. I get Italians messaging me on LinkedIn. I can't even understand what the guy is saying, but they're getting value and he's selling some sort of SaaS product. It doesn't matter. Well, and I'm not saying this to brag, Jeff. I'm saying this because people need to understand, because we have the mindset that we don't have a scarcity mindset. I don't need to charge exorbitant prices. Our students are ambassadors. They tell their friends. That makes us very rich, right? So that's the best way that we do it. And number two, it's not so much about what you sell. It's the way that you sell it, and what you sell is a vehicle to help them get there.
Love that. And it's very true. So with that being said, I'll link to your website below. And how can our listeners contact you?
Look, the best way to contact me is probably by going to my website. Obviously, I'm on social media, YouTube channel, I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatnot, so they can do that there as well. You could find links to all that from my website. So the best way to do that is visit 5percentinstitute.com. That's 5 with the number 5. And if you can link that in the show notes, that'd be amazing, Jeff. Really appreciate that. We also have something called a 7-day sales challenge. So the 7-day sales challenge is completely free, and it's basically 7 videos dropped to your inbox directly over 7 days. And it runs through a bit of a short process in regards to what I've discussed here today. And the whole aim of that series is to help you position yourself away from thinking of yourself like a commodity and more of a trusted advisor. And then obviously at the end of that process, we invite you to enroll in our sales program, which is online, which is just under the $50 US mark. Or you can obviously go there straight away by visiting our website, whichever one's best for you. but that's obviously available there as well. So probably the best way to reach me, Jeff. And also, look, if anyone's got, obviously I've got to be a bit guarded with my time. I'm busy. But if anyone's got any questions or anything like that, obviously they can feel free to share it with themselves. I'd also be more than happy to contact me through the chat box on my website, and I'll answer you the best I possibly can. If you've got any questions in regards to what we've spoken about today, as mentioned, look, this is more, and I'm not saying this to be cringe, as you can probably tell by my tone, you can tell by my preachy attitude, you can tell by my passion. This for me, man, this is service. I'm coming from a place of serve, right? This is passionate. This is a passion for me. So I want your viewers and I want your listeners to walk away with value. If I can help them get there, by all means, hit me up and I'll see what I can do, within reason, of course.
Amazing. Khabeer Rockley, everyone. He's been very generous with his time and insights. And make sure to click below, visit his site. The 7-day free daily coaching is amazing. And a sub $50 product, I mean, what he offered today has been sold for thousands and thousands of dollars online for years. So imagine this times 12, and he's offering it to you for a very affordable price with the spirit of just giving, abundance mindset, and giving access to this information to the most amount of people possible. So really appreciate that. And you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you for being on.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I really, really appreciate your time. And it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. If you want to accomplish your real estate goals, then I highly suggest downloading my free Ultimate Real Estate Goal Setting Framework. The link is in the description of the show, and it will help you break down your annual income goal into the amount of phone calls, appointments, or open houses you need in order to achieve that goal. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.